Hiya. So yeah, we can explain a little bit about how School Space came about. So as you'll have seen in the intro, it was founded in 2011, 10 years ago now, when we were quite a lot younger, 17, and we started it with our own school. So James and I were on the head boy, head girl team, and quite passionate about the fact that our school was kind of a nice place to be, but it was struggling with funding cuts at the time, and also went through a special measures Ofsted rating, which we thought was misrepresentative of how great the school really was. So we kind of put all those things together, the fact that we were loving running around, being very busy on the head boy and head girl team, and we decided to start renting out the school for events in the evenings and weekends. Fast forward kind of 3 years, we were doing that with our own school and the local primary school down the road. And we decided, after having part-time jobs and gone to university, that we would try and grow it. So for the last sort of, I suppose, 6 years, we've been really scaling School Space out to schools across London and the Southeast, but still with the same idea of trying to make schools money, particularly in the face of funding cuts, by renting out their spaces in the evenings, weekends, and school holidays. Sometimes it's easier to think of us as Airbnb for schools, because that's, in a nutshell, what we do. And now, as you sort of would have seen from the intro, School Space has made well over £1 million for its partner schools. We've got a wide team across the Southeast, and we're really proud of what we've achieved from a social impact level for the schools and the communities that we work with. And now I've done the whole pitch and left poor James with nothing to add. What have I just said?
I'd say for us, it's really important that schools benefit from what we do, and it really helps that we started this business when we were at school. And I'd certainly say, when it comes to how schools came about, we probably wouldn't have stumbled across this idea if we'd come together like after uni and thought of an idea. So it's really a strong foundation for us that we started it while we're at school, and schools remain at the heart of why we do what we do. And even at the start of the intro, when I saw that you said we've raised over £1 million for schools, that's not a lie, that is true. But sometimes it's hard to forget kind of the impact that our organisation has, and we're certainly very proud of that.
Yes, every day we have challenges starting up, and still to this day. I often get asked in like sometimes interviews or other like PR things, people are like, what's your biggest challenge? And I'm like, that is impossible to answer. There are like 8 challenges a day. And, I always cop out of that question by saying there's always something new. And part of being an entrepreneur or a social entrepreneur is that you every day are faced with things where you're like, I have no idea what to do. And I think kind of speaking to people and getting advice from like other people in the sector is really, really important for us, and always has been. Particularly when we were 17, like we started a business, we had no idea what we were doing. And I'd like to think we know a bit more about what we're doing now, but it's still always the case of being faced with new challenges, obviously most recently COVID, and trying to understand like how we can guide our business, our team, and maintain our social impact through all of those challenges. So yes, specifically, but James has a much better memory than me, so he might remember.
Well, I'll start with a more specific one, and maybe Gemma will be able to follow up. We don't like to keep harping on about the fact that we started the business when we were 17, but it was fact, basically. And one of the biggest challenges was our age when employing people. I was about to say employing people older than us, but obviously we were only going to be employing people older than us. And the challenge has lessened now, but it is still there, that when you are employing people, they have to understand and appreciate that we are young bosses, we're young business owners, and getting their buy-in and understanding that sometimes things won't be perfect because we're learning on the job as well. But we're all here to do a good thing. We're all here to generate income for schools and help the education sector. That helps with that challenge, but still, like, we don't have every last answer, and we do need to kind of act 30 years above our age in some instances to ensure that people can trust us. So building that trust with our team, with our employees, and making sure that they felt comfortable with them having young bosses was certainly a challenge that I remember quite vividly at the start.
So Unlimited, we came across, again, James's memory is better than mine. I think it was 2016, and you'll remember better. But we'd always been aware of Unlimited because there are a lot of try it and do it awards, which are kind of the very like basic level grants that Unlimited provide. And we were recipient of one of them via another social enterprise vehicle in Oxford, really early on. I think that was 2015. So when we were very much starting the business, and at that point, that much money, I think it was about £7,000, was like revolutionary to us. And not that it's not still a lot of money now, but at the size of business it was a big deal. So we've been aware of Unlimited. We'd received a little bit of money from them very early on, and then in 2016, I think, we were on the Big Venture Challenge, which was one of Unlimited's kind of flagship programs at the time. I think it's since morphed into other programs. And the aim of that was to kind of guide social enterprises through an investment raising process. So we had decided that we needed to raise some investment to grow the business sustainably and properly in the way we wanted to, rather than killing ourselves or our employees. And we kind of went through this program with Unlimited. We were provided with a ton of support around our legal structure, meeting investors. So we met our first investor, Martin Liu, through the program, who's been incredibly supportive to this day, and also helped introduce us to a lot of other investors. And that was really kind of revolutionary for us starting our business, our journey into the business becoming a lot larger, because I don't think we'd have been able to make it out of kind of the backwoods of Oxfordshire to running kind of a business on the scale it is now if we hadn't gone through that process with Unlimited. So it really was transformatory for us and the business.
And it wasn't just financial kind of help and support as well. The programs that they ran, I remember everything from like growing your team to how to manage and show your impact, which I think we're going to come onto in a second. It was great, and to this day I remember, you know, it was a hard time. Like it really challenged Gemma and I, and our relationship as founders as well, to get us to where we are today. And I am ever thankful for every program, but particularly the Big Venture Challenge that was supported by Unlimited, because it really kind of raised our game and brought us to a level of a proper social enterprise that was really doing good things. So
yeah. This is a difficult one because I think the list is never ending to some extent. From our personal experience, I think the things that have really helped us are programs. So like being able to receive almost like sometimes an MBA level education as to how to run a business when you're just someone with an idea has been really essential for us to continue learning and growing. Like James and I don't have a boss. We don't, we have peers, but everyone's doing things in different sectors. We're, School Space was one of the first to kind of came up with this idea all by ourselves. And I think for that kind of mentoring and learning, programs like the ones that Unlimited provide are essential for growth. And I don't think we would have been able to continue kind of developing at the level needed for the business if we hadn't have had that support. And then secondly, and it's a much returned to subject by all entrepreneurs, but funding and accessible funding, particularly kind of for women, is something that is not ideal in any sector when it comes to growth funding for businesses. And I think Unlimited are one of the vehicles that provide, accessible and fair funding for social enterprises. And if more businesses are going to thrive, they need the capital to be able to invest in their team to grow, but not just for growth. Sometimes it's also, things like recovery loans from COVID. And we've been lucky enough to access funding when we've needed it at every stage of growth. But I think, organizations like Unlimited to kind of distribute that amongst social enterprises are essential. So those would be the two major ones for me. I don't know if James, I've covered it all for James.
No, I think that's actually a good one to end it on. I do have a few ideas, but I think that's a strong endpoint. So that leads us to go on to wish Guy and David the massive best of luck with your endeavour. We can't believe that already you've been rowing for around a month. I mean, to us, that makes us feel ill, let alone doing it in the winter. So the fact that you're still going and raising money for this amazing cause that's close to our heart is really important, and why we wanted to share the message.
And just a massive thank you from us.
Good luck.